Подача, Остин! Все-таки забил!
Fonte with a scooping header, it's 2!
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Southampton Delivery Podcast, a podcast dedicated to the Southampton Football Club and all of the SFC fans. My name is Matt Markstone. I'm the host of the show, and I'd like to thank you for joining us. Whether this is your first time listening to the show or you've been a long-time listener, I hope that you enjoy it. And before we go any further, I'd like to point you in the direction of the We Are Southampton page on Instagram. For matchday edits, polls, competitions, and more, be sure to check out the We Are Southampton page on Instagram. Matt, who runs the page, has been a supporter of this show since the very beginning. He did the logo, he's been a guest, he's answered tons of my questions, and I couldn't do this without him. So head on over to We Are Southampton on Instagram and be sure to subscribe and check out what he has going on over there. The link to that is in the show notes if you need it. Moving on from there, this week obviously we lost to United, 1-0 at home. I will talk about all of that with my guest Dan James, who is on Twitter at @TheDanJames in just a little bit. But before we get there, I learned a valuable lesson this week, which is that if you make jokes on the internet, people will make jokes about you, and you will eventually become the icon on somebody's group chat, and they will call you horrible names. And I don't regret it at all. I really enjoyed it, and I will probably do it again. One more thing before we get into the actual interview with Dan. The Football Supporters Federation are hosting the FSF Awards 2017. Nominations are now open for things like Best Fanzine, Best Online Media, Writer of the Year, Podcast of the Year, Club Liaison Officer, things like that. So if you have any of those things kind of in your mind about a particular podcast, writer, a fanzine that you would like to put up for nomination, be sure to go over to the Football Supporters Federation website and nominate whoever that is. I've put the link to the nomination page in the show notes, so be sure to head on over there and do that. They have made specific categories for bloggers or online media, which it would be like any of the kind of things that you follow along on Twitter here, versus fanzine, which is an actual paper fanzine. So I'm not quite sure the ugly inside goes into that, but they can go for the online media and things like that. So head on over there, nominate who you would like, if you would like, if that's something you're interested in. I think we should all nominate Hugo for Club Liaison Officer. But that's just me. So if you were going to do one thing, I would say nominate him, and I think everybody can get behind that. But anyway, head on over there, do that if you want to. If you don't want to, no big deal. And now let's go ahead and move to my conversation with Dan James. Once again, you can find him on Twitter at @TheDanJames, and we'll have that right after this.
International Podcast Day is September 30th, and you can help spread the word. You may be asking, what can I do to get involved? It's pretty simple. Head over to internationalpodcastday.com and check the suggestions. Then use hashtag International Podcast Day to join the conversation. You can reach out and connect with other podcasters, listeners, and your favorite podcast hosts. Remember September 30th, International Podcast Day, a day-long celebration of the power of podcasts.
So we'd like to welcome to the Southampton Delivery Podcast, a podcast dedicated to the Southampton Football Club and all the SFC fans, Dan James. You can find him on Twitter at @TheDanJames, and you may recognize him from The Ugly Inside. And there's a lot more to him than just that. And so, Dan, welcome to the show. We'll get to know you a little bit, and then we'll talk about Saints.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, my pleasure. I know we kind of set this up a while ago, but we're here now, and I'm excited. And I don't know a ton about you other than what I've seen there on The Ugly Inside and things like that. But how did you first become a Saints fan? And are you from Southampton? What kind of stuff about that?
I was born in Southampton, from Southampton. I've been a fan as long as I can remember. I remember in primary school being one of the only kids who used to wear a Southampton shirt, and that was sort of a time. We started off when we were in the Premier League, but as I went through school, that was when we started going down. So been a Southampton fan most of my life. I'm a season ticket holder in the Northern at the minute, but I've used to be in the Chapel, in the Quiet End, and also in the Itchen. But yeah.
You mentioned you were one of the only ones that used to wear a Southampton shirt when you were going to school.
Yeah.
What did the other kids wear?
Standard sort of, your Man Uniteds, your Arsenals, a couple of Liverpools. That was about it, really.
So it happens there too, huh?
Yeah, it happens there too, unfortunately.
That's all right. Nothing you can do. lots of the kids, I've said this before, but lots of the kids, when I wear last year's jersey, because I teach at a high school, and they always think I'm one of the teams from Mexico. And then they whistle at me, and they say some stuff, and then they get closer and realize it's the wrong team. But and it's funny because it happens every year. Like, you get a new batch of freshman kids who do it every year, and they never seem to kind of figure it out.
No.
But I'm slowly trying to educate them, but it's not in more ways than one. It doesn't always work, but
yeah.
And so, from kind of being a fan, and how long have you been a season ticket holder? You said some time. Did you start going with like your dad or your parents or anything?
Yeah. I started going with my dad when I was quite young. I can't put a date on it, but yeah, it was back when we were in the Premier League. I think it was either the year before we got relegated or the year we got relegated. No, it was definitely the year before, because I remember going then. So I was a season ticket holder then. We were in the chapel. I think one season we stopped for some reason or another, but we got the half season ticket for the second half of the season in the Itchen, and then been going ever since, really. Okay.
All right. And then you got brothers and sisters who go with you or anything?
Yeah, my brother, he's got a season ticket as well. He's not with me in the Northern, but he comes to quite a few of the away games with me as well. So, yeah.
You travel with most of the away games?
Yeah, I don't know if you saw. Yeah, I've not missed one for 3 years yet, since yesterday.
Oh, geez, I missed that. I'm sorry. That's amazing.
That's cool. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it was Arsenal away in 2014 was the last one I missed in the cup, when Klein scored the Thunderbolt and ManU scored as well. But yeah, no, it wasn't ManU. It was Tadic. ManU went down for the penalty or something like that. I can't remember. We won.
Man, that's a long time.
It is, yeah, and a lot of money.
Yes, that is a huge amount of money. And
yeah.
I don't even know. I have questions about it, but I don't even know how to ask him at this point. So we'll skip that.
We can move on. Yeah.
But yeah, that's amazing. So how did you go from, when did you make that decision to start doing the travel stuff? Like when did that, was it when you could start to drive yourself, or?
It sort of started when I really started working properly, really, because obviously, I was lucky enough, to be able to go to home games and all that. But with the away games, obviously the cost involved in it is so much more. And if you're not in a job, and you don't have any income sort of thing, you can't really go. So yeah, when I started working, really, so probably I started really going, back in 2012, 13. Yeah.
All right. Mm. And, you have a favorite away ground?
Oh, favorite away ground. See, I've got quite a few actually, because like each ground has its own perk sort of thing. The Emirates is one of the nicest stadiums that I've been to, but it's just way too quiet. Mm-hmm. Fulham away when we won 3-0. I love Fulham. It was a nice little ground. Everything's sort of all very tight in. Nice old traditional ground. Yeah, I'll say Fulham was good.
All right.
And we got a good result there. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. The knock on the Emirates is that it's too comfortable for everyone. Away fans, away teams, everything. So. Yeah,
like the chairs you get. I think they've even got padded chairs there, just like in the normal section. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's. Hey man, whatever you want to do that. That's fine.
I don't. That's the thing. You give me a padded chair, won't even sit on it. So more for you guys, really.
Yeah. We'll get to your work in a second, but how did you go from just kind of watching the matches to winding up where I first saw you on the ugly inside?
I don't know, really. Like, obviously, over here, I don't know if it is the same over there, but Arsenal Fan TV is massive here. Me and my friends, we watch it, we talk about it, mainly taking the mick out of how crazy them guys are.
Right.
And then, obviously, I noticed that Freddie from the ugly inside was obviously doing fan cams, just sort of went on there. I think one of my first ones was an away game. Okay. It was either Aston Villa away or it may have been a home game, but they've just started carrying on since then, really, and it's sort of become pretty much every week popping over to see him and having a chat, basically. Yeah, you're a pretty consistent contributor, I guess. Yeah. Familiar face. And then last year, you also did the kind of end of the season roundup. So Freddie approached me, said, we're doing sort of the end of season reviews, and we went down, had a few drinks and had a chat about the season. So yeah, it was quite good. Yeah, it's a bit too early when the game's around here to have any drinks usually. Usually it's about 7 a.m. Speaking of that, Crystal Palace last week with the early kickoff absolutely killed us. Started drinking way too early. Yeah. And then did you take the train back then, or did somebody on the coach? So it varies really. It depends on like where it is, how far you've got to travel, what's easier. So like last weekend, the train was £12 return, so you can't really go wrong there.
No, it sounds like the way to go. We attempted to use public transit last week. We were in a big city and it just turned into a nightmare. And I wound up getting off halfway through and just calling an Uber and using it. So I just gave up, but it's embarrassing. But you mentioned before we started recording, you work for the Saints Foundation. You do some coaching for them. How long have you been doing that? And kind of, if for anybody who doesn't know, what is the Saints Foundation kind of really all about, and what do you do?
Yeah, so I was lucky enough to start with the Saints Foundation. My old football coach, he was in the management side of the foundation, so he managed to get me a role in volunteering with them. So I started off volunteering. I volunteered for a whole summer in between my first and second year of college. So I volunteered for the whole summer, and then through that got a job basically as a casual coach. So I do sort of, my main side of it is sort of in the youth inclusion. So getting kids involved in football off the street. Not necessarily always in football. We're doing multi-sports or dance, boxing, lots of different workshops from outside agencies come in to help them with anything that they need help with. Also work with the football development program as well, which is basically where we go into schools. We deliver PE lessons, after school clubs. We do coaching centres. We do coach education. So we go out to local teams and educate not only the kids in how to play football, but often it's a parent who's only got sort of like the basic level coaching, and we sort of give them pointers in how they can improve as well. So obviously it's better for the kids, but it's also better for the coaches too. And on the whole, as the foundation, I could go on. The list keeps getting bigger, really. We target quite mainly in the sort of the local area, but I'm guessing you guys may have seen that we do work over in Lesotho in Africa. They go out sort of, I think it's every 2 years maybe, and they go out and work out there. The list goes on.
All right. And you guys focus mostly, or a lot of the focus is around the kind of greater Southampton area, getting those kids involved in things, or is it kind of spread out wider than that?
Yeah, so obviously quite a lot of what we do is in the Southampton area, but that's me being boastful. Being one of the bigger clubs in the area on the South Coast, our areas sort of expand slightly. So we go up to Salisbury, Winchester, Basingstoke. I think we're starting as well. So we're gradually pushing our horizons out, but not taking the focus away from Southampton, which is obviously the local area. Because obviously we do get quite a lot of fans that travel to home games from those areas. So it makes sense for the foundation to push out there as well, sort of thing.
And if I can ask, kind of what is your relationship with the team in terms of the foundation and the team? Like how closely do you work with the actual football club in terms of getting stuff there for match day and getting kids exposure that way?
Quite a common misconception is, Saints Foundation, that's Southampton Football Club. People would say, why would you need to donate the money there to Southampton Football? The foundation's independent from the club in terms of finances, but in terms of operations, it's pretty close. So obviously it's based down at St. Mary's at the ground. Quite a lot goes on, particularly on match days. So mascots are looked after by the foundation. Probably something that's not well known is the foundation give out so many tickets to participants of sessions, locals, and there's like competitions as well. So there is a lot that goes on between the two, although they're completely independent financially.
All right, yeah. See, I didn't realize about the tickets. I knew the mascots and stuff, but not.
Yeah. So yeah, like say for example, I do a session on a Friday evening, one of the youth sort of drop-in sessions, and every now and then, it's obviously not every single week, but every now and then it's sort of our department's turn to give out some tickets, and they get free tickets.
All right. That sounds pretty cool.
Because obviously for some of the kids and even some of the adults that take part in some of the sessions, they don't have the money or the chance to go to a game. So to give them that chance, it's good.
Yeah. And yeah, I think that's fantastic. And I think that's great. And thanks for sharing, that stuff about the foundation. Yeah. I really appreciate that. As you have kind of gone through both like the, I don't know, I guess with the Ugly Inside TV and all that stuff and the foundation stuff, has that kind of changed the way you watch the football club from the time when you were younger to now? Has that kind of had an impact on how you view the club and the play on the field or otherwise?
Well, definitely. Yeah. I mean, as I've grown older, I did a degree in sports coaching as well. So, I mean, I look at football, obviously I do support the team, but I also try and put my coach's head on, thinking, you know what, these lot are saying something that's completely wrong about the football, and so I do watch it differently. I think definitely.
All right. Well, you mind kind of putting that hat on and walking me through the match a little bit yesterday? Is that all right?
I can try my best.
All right. Now, and I guess one question I have when you go back to the TV thing, knowing you have to go do that, are you looking for kind of points that stand out to you because you know you're doing that in advance, or you just kind of watch the game and you just have that stuff in your head anyway? And then
I just going along there. Really, I'm just saying what I think. Basically, I don't think definitely going to talk about that. You know, Freddie's really good at asking the questions, and he varies them up as well. Like if you watch every interview, not every single one's the same because he asks different questions. I think that helps as well.
Yeah, absolutely. He does a fantastic job at seemingly everything he does. I don't know. Granted, I only see him do this stuff. You know, I think he does great. All right. So yesterday, obviously, we lost to Manchester United 1-0 to a Lukaku goal.
Yep.
But are you disappointed? I guess just looking at it from now, are you disappointed with kind of how it went? And then I guess we'll kind of get into the specifics.
I'm always disappointed when we lose. Obviously, we go in to win. I think yesterday we just, apart from the finishing, we did enough to win. So it is slightly disappointing, but looking on it, we can take from yesterday quite a lot of things, really.
I guess to start, just to note, ManU comes into yesterday with only 2 losses in the last 34 league matches. They have been, they're
crazy
phenomenal.
record,
yeah, and lots of draws.
It's close to matching a record set by Ferguson. So it's quite a good record.
Yeah, and they had lots of draws last season, but this season they've made some additions. Off the top of my head, Lukaku and Matic. That's right. I was trying to think of his
got to be
name.
signing one of the signings of the season for me. I don't know why Chelsea have let him go.
Right,
crazy.
Yeah. But they look a lot more potent than they did last year. It looks like Mourinho maybe has a better.
I think obviously he's had a chance to get a team how he wants it. And it's a classic Mourinho team. And I was saying it to someone yesterday. If you look at the core of their team, i.e. there's 2 centre halves. Yesterday it was Jones and Bailly, 2 big, strong guys. Mm-hmm. Move forward into the midfield, Fellaini and Matic, 2 big guys, 2 really strong guys on the ball. And then Lukaku at the front. The core of the team is really strong. And then they've got the players out on the wings and in the attacking midfield to do damage, basically.
Yeah.
It's really well set up.
Yeah. And on that kind of note, what did you make of the way we set up yesterday? Unchanged side from Palace the week before, had a decent performance there.
Yeah.
But what did you make when that came out? Was that the team you were expecting?
I'd be lying if I said I wasn't shocked to not see Van Dijk. But, Yoshida didn't really do anything wrong at Palace to lose his place. So, for me, I don't like criticising our players, but I don't think Redmond's done enough this season. He has a funny little spell in the game where he'll do some magic, and then for the rest of it, he'll just trot around, not looking interested, sort of thing. So maybe might not have played Redmond, but he did. So
all right. Is that one of the things maybe because I've only ever watched on TV, and so the TV follows the ball.
Of course.
And unless I'm really paying attention to who the commentators are not talking about. Then you kind of
commentators, if you're in a Southampton game, will not talk about Southampton, really, will they?
Right.
There's like a running joke over here. Match of the day last night. The whole talk was about Man United. I mean, they didn't really do anything in the game.
Yeah.
Talk about Saints. Talk about us. But frustrating. But yeah.
Now, one of the things I pointed out, or I wrote down that I want to bring up later, is the fact that they kept talking about how poorly Man United was playing, not about how
horrible. Hate that. Yeah.
Or was it at all? No credit to us at all, other than they did give Lamina some credit, but that was it.
Well, because they're trying to sell him already.
It's true. Walking through kind of the first half, where there, it seemed like start of the game, the first 20 minutes seemed like we were kind of on top. And then they got the goal, they went ahead, and then it seemed like for the rest of that first half, they were kind of
struggled a bit. We struggled a bit. Yeah, I think the goal shocked us a bit. We did start well, although I don't think we supported long enough up front. He was winning quite a lot of headers, bringing the ball down quite well, and then there was no one running onto him, no one around him to give it to, and we kept losing it. But it was promising.
Yeah. Now I don't want to get too far ahead, but like, when we see that from Long, when we see that, and we know like a large part of that is, even though he's a smaller guy, he gets up there and wins the headers, and he pesters guys, and so he's knocking the ball down, and we don't have anybody there. Is that a personnel issue? Is that a tactical issue? Is that the formation? What do we do to fix that, I guess?
It's like, obviously slightly tactical, but for me, it's the midfield. When that ball is going up, they have to get up there too. So that is your Redmonds yesterday, the Tadic's, even Stephen Davis pushing on to support him from that clearance up to him. But as you said, Shane Long, he's got a leap on him. He'll run down everything. And I think that's what we've been missing at the start of the season. And if you look at the Palace and yesterday's performance, he was key to this, the legs up front.
Mm-hmm. Now, because he's a striker that doesn't often score, does that? I mean, obviously, we need goals, and it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of goals in our team at all across that front line. But does playing him then, even though he wins the headers and stuff like that, does it kind of make it so you can't really play him, or you think you do that? And
I'm a firm believer in you have to play him. I think that is the point. Then is when your attacking midfielders have to chip in with goals. I mean, Tadic. Last season, not so much, but when he had Pella, he was scoring goals. He was setting up goals. Redmond, he can score goals. And Davis can score goals. So, I think it's about other players just chipping in. You can't just rely on your strikers to score goals. Obviously, if you look at, Man City as an example, obviously we're not on their level. Obviously, Aguero and Jesus are scoring goals, but their midfielders come in and chip in with goals as well. I think Sane scored yesterday. Sterling scored. So it's not a fairly similar system in terms of the way we play, but those midfielders pushing forwards, they score goals. And I think that's what ours need to chip in with as well.
Yeah. Yeah. When we went with Long up front yesterday, kind of my thinking was that we kind of were expecting United to come on to us a bit and maybe almost treat it almost like an away game, in that we are going to be playing the ball long and looking for him to hold it up or run onto it. I kind of, obviously we hope that guys will be able to get up there, and it just didn't really seem like they. No,
it didn't work, did it? Really, no.
And I don't really know how to solve that other than keep cheering and telling them to keep running. But
I have to say though, that when you talk about it, I thought the support yesterday from the crowd was unbelievable. I think Davis came out and said last week, if the crowd can spur us on, we can achieve things. And I thought yesterday it was a really good support yesterday.
I did see there was some argument kind of back and forth on Twitter, but one guy, I can't remember who it was, said, like, I haven't clapped the team off the field that hard after a loss ever. And I was, I mean, even after the game, the noise was brilliant. And was it pretty, I mean, looking around, and obviously you're sitting around with people, you probably at least have some idea who they are. Yeah. Everybody, obviously disappointed to lose, but everybody kind of recognized that there were some positives there.
Without saying, we were happy to lose, I thought everyone was happy with the fact that the players put effort in, didn't bottle challenges, did keep trying. And, at the end of the day, Man United are joint top of the table, unbeaten this season so far, and we've given them a really good game. They brought on, I thought, 3 really defensive substitutions to try and shut up that game because, we had them.
Yeah, there were a lot of people saying that we didn't deserve to lose, and we probably deserved, like you said earlier, to win. Like it's just we couldn't quite figure out how to get the ball over the line. I think ManU went close once or twice,
maybe 3 times even.
Fellaini headed a ball off the line there. I mean, it seemed like we were attacking in every way we could. We tried shots from outside the box, we tried crosses, we tried all this stuff. We just couldn't quite unlock it. And really, I don't think you can put any blame there. I think if you do that week after week, you start scoring goals and winning matches.
It'll come eventually. If we continue playing like that, there's no doubt that it will come eventually.
Some of the things that I really, really liked about yesterday's performance was that I think people expect, like I did, for United to kind of take the game to us and us just to react. But we, for the most part, pressed them. They didn't look great, and the commentators kind of mentioned that. But for me, it was, how much of that were we forcing them to play bad balls, and our pressure was actually causing them to do that. Is that kind of what you guys noticed as you're watching the match, or did you think we played well?
The intensity from the start was high from us, which, I've not watched every Man United game, but they've been fairly easy games. They've been sort of like 3. I think it's probably their narrowest win this season, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
Because they've been smashing 3-4 against people. So, I think they could have possibly thought, yeah, we're going to come here and smash this. And they're like, hold on a minute, we've actually got a game on here. So the intensity started well.
And if you look at a lot of their matches, they've scored a lot of late goals.
That was one worry. So that was one worry for me when they just did nothing in the second half but sit back, that they were going to bring on Martial and he'd come on and score. That we've seen so much this season, but it didn't happen. So
no, and like you said before, they brought on very, very defensive.
Very defensive, yeah.
Because I think they were worried, and I think because I was worried about it too. I was worried about them coming out and scoring goals late, but we looked more the team like we were going to score than them, and I think that's a testament to us. So
yeah, that the substitution is full credit to the players on how they obviously made them think, oh, we need to make these changes.
Yeah. Taking a look at our substitutions. Before we do that, did you notice that they kept mentioning in our commentary here, Hoot looking like he was struggling with a knee injury? Said he went through a fitness test before. Did he look like he was injured at all to you off the ball?
There was one period in the second half when I think there was a corner or something. He did go down there, but he got himself up. I didn't know anything about a knee injury, but he played at Palace, didn't he? He played against Watford and obviously played yesterday. I think he's settled in really quickly, and having a left-footed player in the left centre-back position helps so much with our playing the ball out. But the guy reads the game well, and he's fairly strong too, so it's another good find.
Yeah, I thought him and Yoshida did really, really well yesterday against Lukaku, who has just torched so many people recently and for seasons past. But there was the one, I've watched the replay of the goal I don't know how many times, and there's a lot of pushing and shoving going on before the ball ever gets delivered. Yeah. And it looked like Lukaku pushed Hoot away, and then as Hoot came back in, he kind of swept him back the other way. So Hoot's already kind of leaning in on him, and he was just able to pull him over and get the header back. And it was just like, other than that one moment, I think they won that battle. They did well,
yeah, definitely. The goal, I've only sort of like watched it once or twice back. Obviously, Forster's pulled off the save. Some say that he could have done better with it, but it was, coming straight at him. He's done well to push it away. And for me personally, we saw it in the West Ham game, is both goals then came from Forster saves, and the defence are static and don't sort of react. So the only player that did react was the goal scorer. So that might be something to work on.
It seemed like once Hoot went down, he never got back up until the goal was scored.
No, yeah.
Yeah, definitely, no performance is perfect, but I thought they were to be at least recognized for their efforts, I guess. Yeah. And I guess looking forward, that's going to be an interesting
so obviously we've got Hoot, Yoshida, Van Dijk and Stevens, 4 centre-halves now, so a lot of depth in that position, so it's going to be lots of competition for that space.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be interesting to watch how that centre-back kind of pairing, whether Van Dijk comes back in or whether, there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that we just have kind of no idea what it is. But from everything we've heard, it's maybe he's just not quite ready. Maybe he plays for the the under 23s again, even though he's playing against children out there. Just having, if you look at that team,
it's game time, it's fitness, it's match sharpness, which is what he needs. So he has to take it really.
Yeah, him and Bednarak playing out there, it's just like, man, that's just probably not fair.
I totally forgot about Bednarak. That's 5 centre halves we've got.
Yeah,
crazy. Yeah.
But hey, we were worried about that last season, and it seems like we addressed that. And now, attacking midfield might be an issue, and hopefully, hopefully we address it. So,
obviously, I've said it a few times. Obviously, we had the centre back problem last season, and like you said, the attacking midfield or striker, I think we're slightly missing on that this season.
Yeah. I guess on that note, you think we address that need in January? Or you think we wait till next summer before we do anything?
I think it's something probably to consider in January, definitely. Looking at the game so far where we've had chances to score, we haven't put them away. I just think we could do with someone else. Fresh face.
Yeah. Okay. Any other moments in the match kind of stand out to you? Any other points you wanted to make about the match against?
It was Lamina was like a YouTube put together of all his best performances, but in that game, he, I said it on my fan cam, Fellaini usually walks past people. He usually not controls the midfield, but he has the rule in the midfield because he's so big, because he's so strong. But Lamina gave him a tough game yesterday. He was dancing about, pulling off tricks, left quite a few players on the floor. I thought, again, fantastic from him.
Yeah. I remember last year we were all kind of really high on Romeu, and we still are. Yeah. He's still great, but Lamina is he's got a little bit more flair, a little bit more excitement to his game.
He's got that bit of flair, but I think him and Romeo could develop that really good centre midfield pairing, which, by far our best midfield pairing was Wanyama and Schneidlin. And I think that Lamina and Romeo, if we keep them together for a period of time, they could be as good, if not probably better than them too.
I'm hoping they stay around long enough to make that
Fingers
happen.
crossed.
Yeah. Coming out of yesterday's match, obviously no points, but I think a lot of positives to take from it in terms of performance and individual players, whole team, all that stuff. But this is 3 straight home losses for Pellegrino now. Not scoring a whole lot. Is the pressure starting to build? But it didn't really sound like it based on the way people were cheering. And it was very even noticeable even on TV here. It seems like people are behind him, even though we are questioning kind of, formations changes maybe or things like that. But how did you, from what you heard or whatever, how are people feeling about the manager?
I don't think there's any pressure on the manager really from either the fans or I doubt the club are putting pressure on him. It's just not the way that the club runs. I don't think, obviously it's not the most ideal of starts. And obviously 3 losses on the bounce isn't what you want, but if the team puts in performances like they did yesterday, the results are going to come. And at the end of the day, as I said, and as you said, everyone seems happy, even though we've lost. The performance is there. And, if you pay your money to watch the team, if they given 100%, and at the end of the day, Man United are a better team. If the better team wins, but you've tried, that's all you can do, really.
Yeah, and I don't really see any reason to put pressure on the manager at this point. It seems like the performances we've had the past 2 weeks, and take the Watford performance out of it, but the performance we've had,
we haven't done loads wrong. It's been similar to last season. It's tiny little lapses in concentration, tiny little errors that just lead to goals or missing of chances, really. Yeah,
I guess I would say that the performances we've had over the last couple of weeks have been so much more intense than what we had last year.
Yeah, definitely. The intensity is so much higher, yeah.
And I think for the manager to bring that out, whether that was there all along and Puel just kind of suppressed it, or whether that is the manager allowing the players or encouraging the players to go out and express themselves a little more, or whatever it is, I think it's very much more enjoyable to watch than what we had last year. And I think a lot of people that I talked to last year, that was the thing, is that even if we finish in the same spot, if we are playing kind of exciting and attractive matches in football, then okay, then we're doing all right, I
think last year quite a lot of the games we set up not to lose, as opposed to set out to go and to win. Whereas now the mentality, I think there's a slight shift, is we heard it from players. We want to win. Last season, the cup final, that game we set out to win, and they're probably one of our best performances this season, which again we lost. But I think there's been a slight mentality change in terms of the setup. It's not too dissimilar, but the intensity's higher, which is good. Yeah,
and I think it counts for a lot in terms of what we see when we watch. So I think we're going in the right direction. I honestly do.
Obviously with the Boers sacking recently, we've not played many games. Yesterday was our 6th, 7th game? We've not played that many games this season. He's only just started, so you've got to give it time to settle. And with the infrastructure we've got, I can't see it being too long before we start getting those results, really.
Yeah. All right, well, if that does it for you for the match, we have some listener questions that I think will help us kind of get any other things that are out there.
Yeah.
You okay with moving towards those?
Yeah, definitely.
All right. The first one comes from Jay, who is at FFSJ on Twitter, and he says, does Dan see the next 3 games as winnable? And those games, in case you were wondering, Stoke away, Newcastle at home, and then West Brom at home.
All 3 games we can win. Definitely. Stoke, obviously, yesterday lost 4-0 to Chelsea. They're a tough team to play at the Britannia. Sorry, it's not the Britannia anymore. It's the Bet365. They create the Bet365. They create a good atmosphere up there. But there's been games up there that we've done really well. I think we can get a win up there. And then obviously Newcastle at home. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. I don't know if they've lost to Brighton today. They were losing to Brighton. I think they did lose to Brighton. We like to play Newcastle at home. We've beaten them 4-0 a few times, so that would be nice. And then West Brom made quite a few good signings this summer. They sort of looked like they were off to a good start, and then sort of they've jolted a bit. So again, it's not an easy game, but it's a game that's winnable.
Yeah, I think at the very least you would expect us to be in all 3 of those games.
Definitely, 100%. After the way we played yesterday, if we take that into them, we should dominate all 3.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I'm looking forward to those. And I do realize that our schedule to start the season has not been the toughest, maybe.
No.
And that we do need to start putting some points on the board before we get too far into November and December. But
some big games coming up in November and December as well.
Yeah. I'm looking at the schedule right now. It's not inviting. That's for sure.
December's, last week of November into December, obviously, I'm just looking at it now as well. Everton at home. Then we go to City away on the Wednesday. And then we play Bournemouth away. And Arsenal. Then, we got Chelsea, we got Man United, Tottenham all in that time. So, we do, like you said, we need to get some points on the board.
Yeah. Next kind of question, and I think maybe we've kind of already addressed this. 2 questions actually from George, who's at Moroccan Messi. He says, do you think Lamina was a bargain considering today's market?
We've got a good deal out of it. I think if you look at some of the money that people have spent on players, when you look at Drinkwater went for silly money from Leicester to Chelsea, Chamberlain's going for up to 40 million to Liverpool, both midfielders. I mean, this is a guy who played in the Champions League final last season for Juventus. I think we've got a good deal. And if you compare it to the prices that other people have paid, then you could say it's a little bit of a bargain, yeah. But I think we always do well with our deals most of the time.
All right. Yeah. I would agree with that. 2 questions kind of relating to our goal scoring. Good performances, but how do we go about fixing our goal scoring? And George asked that along with Christian Candler, who's at _Candler on Twitter.
I think we sort of touched on it. I think the midfielders need to chip in. I'd love to see Long and Gabbiadini playing up top somehow together. Maybe if either Gabbiadini plays in behind Long or vice versa, Long in behind Gabbiadini. If them two could play together, you got the legs of Long to do the running, and then Gabbiadini finding those little pockets. That could work.
All right. Bob Brown, who's at RSBrown80, asks, considering the weakness in attack and the fact that personnel won't change until January, I think you just said it. How would you change how we currently have up front? Would you go with 2 strikers? Would you go to 3 at the back maybe? Or would you kind of...
There's all sorts of roads we can go down. I think we did try, for the last 10 or so minutes when Van Dijk came on in Palace, we went 3 at the back.
Right.
It's just, one thing that we've got, which is increasing even more over the years, is the depth in the squad. We've got so many players to choose from of a good standard. And, a few years back, it was just academy players on the bench. Our benches didn't look as strong as it does today. So we've got options. It's about putting the right players in those right places. So, I don't know, for some reason or another, Buffal's, it's not fully worked for him. Some of the things that you hear, at the training ground, it makes them all look silly with some of his skills, and some of the things he does in the game are outrageous. It's just the end product, but he gets picked on that. He's got no end product, but not many of our players have had that end product either. So I think pushing Buffal in there could give us a chance.
Yeah. Okay. And I think this goes back to kind of Pellegrino. Like you say, we have so many options. We have so many players that can fulfill so many different kind of roles.
Yeah.
And if you look at what Pellegrino did last year, his formations were very fluid, both from match to match and in game. And seeing that he has those options here, he did well last year. In fact, the team that he was coaching, Alaves, has already sacked the manager that replaced him. So
already,
they're sitting near the bottom of the table, and it's not going well. And so, seeing that and seeing what he was able to get out of them. And then
that came out from when he first signed. I think it was either an interview that he'd done just when he signed or done it before, was he tries to get the best out of each individual player, which will only benefit the team. So I think his man management's quite good.
Yes. Let's see. You want a question on Charlie Austin first, or you want a question on Dusan Tadic?
We'll go with Charlie Austin first.
Charlie Austin. All right. Jay, who's at SFC Gem on Twitter, says, what are your guys' opinion on Charlie Austin? Personally, I don't like him now. Offers nothing to the club.
Brutal.
That's what I thought. And maybe he's just setting us up so we have something to talk about. If that's so, thank you, Jim. But
I think Shane Long's higher in my pecking order than Charlie Austin, simply for the fact that he runs. Austin, he's your poacher. He can probably grab you a goal, but for me, his movement, for one reason or another, he's not always the most mobile of players, but his movement for the system we play isn't enough. So, unless the system's slightly tweaked, but do you change the whole system for one player? or try and fit him in. I think as he is at the minute, bringing him on as an impact sub, that might be the way forwards. Or unless there is a game that you're not going to have much of the ball in where you could play it to him to score, he's not my first choice.
For you, in terms of if you had to go 1, 2, 3 with our striking options right now, Gabbiadini, Long, or Austin, who goes where in that pecking order?
Third is Austin. 1 and 2 so tricky because obviously Gabbiadini is very intelligent. If you get the service to him, he'll score. That's something that we've lacked this season, is the service to him. But the effect that Shane Long's had on our last 2 games with the legs, with the winning of challenges, with the chasing the ball down, tireless running, which isn't Gabbiadini's game.
Right.
It's so tough to pick between them two. At the minute, at Stoke, I'd definitely go with Shane Long.
Yeah, and they're so different that it's hard to kind of choose. I think the game and the style of the match that you're going to play and your tactics kind of dictate who plays there. Of course,
yeah.
But like you said, I think Charlie Austin has fallen back a ways, and you're right. He is a goal scorer. I can't ever stop him from scoring on FIFA. It doesn't matter who he's playing for, or who I am, or what I do. But that it doesn't always translate into him scoring for us, or playing a full match even.
Yeah.
He doesn't quite seem like he's there. So hopefully that sorts itself out. And then another question on Tadic here says, this is from @Saints News and Views. It says, do you think we need to bring in competition or a replacement for Tadic this January?
I slightly puzzled with that question. For me, I think Tadic has stepped his game up this season. Obviously, again, we talk about end product. It's not quite been there, but I think he's a lot more mobile. He chases a lot more down. He wins a lot more balls back. I wouldn't be looking to replace Tadic. I'd be looking, he needs to find a partnership like we had with him and Pella. He needs that partnership, I think. And if we find a partnership for him and someone, I wouldn't say get a replacement for him. On it, the stats don't lie. But other than obviously Eriksson, Ozil, Tadic is up there with some of the highest assists since he's come to the Premier League than most other players. So it's finding someone or a way for him to get those assists and those goals flowing again. I wouldn't replace him.
Okay. And thanks to Jack for sending in that question. I appreciate it. And that kind of does it for most of the questions surrounding the team. Do you have anything else that kind of comes to mind when you think about the team? No, I haven't heard of a whole lot of off-field things kind of going on that need discussing, but anything that has kind of maybe in your mind that we didn't talk about yet?
Maybe just like changing it up a little bit. Obviously, Højbjerg's not been involved as much this season, but when you look at the midfield of Lamina, Romeu, does he get in there? Probably not. He's another player who I think, similar to Buffon, has got so much potential, but just hasn't worked for him yet. As I said earlier, I think Redmond, maybe just as a wake-up call, just for one game, drop him. Can't think of much else.
Right. Do you think maybe Højbjerg was on the bench yesterday for the
first
time,
he was,
I think in a while?
Yeah, this season, yeah.
Do you see him maybe, does he need to go down and play under 23 games, or is there,
I don't know.
Because I know there's a limit as to how many players that can play that are over the age of 23.
Yeah,
all kinds of weird stuff.
He's not over 23 though. I think he's younger than Ward-Prowse. So how old is Ward-Prowse now? Just 22?
I think so.
Or is he 23? But yeah, he's another young player. And a lot of people forget that obviously because he came from Bayern Munich, people thought he'd be the full product already. But I think he's definitely one to look out for.
Yeah, and I think people need to remember we don't often buy, the full product.
No,
that's not really how we roll. Højbjerg's only 22.
Yeah,
just turned 22 actually. So
okay, yeah.
Yeah, so he should be. I guess there's no reason for him not to at least be playing matches down there. Hopefully we can see him kind of get in.
Eventually, obviously he got on the bench yesterday. Hopefully, he'll be introduced into games eventually.
Yeah. And do you see him coming in maybe for Romeu or Lamina? Because obviously they're going to get, one of them is going to rack up yellow cards or need a rest.
Romeu racks up yellow cards for fun, doesn't he? So eventually there'll be a suspension in there. But it depends, again, like we said earlier about the game plan, it depends entirely how we're going to set up against a team. If you want 3 physical players, because I think Højbjerg is quite strong on the ball, he's quite confident, he'll put a challenge in. It depends, yeah. If you had a midfield 3 of them, it's a strong midfield.
Yeah. All right. Well, I have one more question, and it comes from Harry, who's @HarryHSFC, and he asks, what size poster of Lamina do you think Pogba has in his bedroom?
I don't know, life size poster.
Size?
Yeah.
I think it's on the back of the door so nobody sees it unless he wants him to.
No, it's a life size poster. As soon as he wakes up, he sees him. He says, "Oh yeah, I want to be like him."
I think that's probably about right. It's probably about right. All right. Well, that pretty much does it for me. I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. I really, really do appreciate it. It's been a pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah. Enjoyed it. I hope I can come back on a later date, maybe.
Oh, absolutely. I'd love to have you back on. And, and I thank you for, doing the things that you do with the Saints Foundation. I think that's such a great thing. So thanks for doing that.
Yes, and no problem.
Hopefully things continue to go well for you guys. And
of course, hopefully. Yeah.
Yeah. And safe travels on all your away trips, man.
Yeah. Stoke next weekend.
How cold is it on a cold night in Stoke? Like
on a cold night in Stoke, luckily, like this season, we're playing good time of year, but I remember we played there in the cup a few years ago, on a midweek, and it was freezing, absolutely freezing. I think we even played there in the league. Not a nice one to go to in midweek of the night. It's cold. It's always windy in Stoke.
Yeah. Where is that? Like, I know it's obviously everything's north of Southampton almost, but like how far away is that?
It's just past Birmingham. I say it's probably about 20, 30 miles north of Birmingham. So it's north enough, but it's not really, really far north.
Okay.
It's north enough for them to talk differently.
Noticeably differently?
Noticeably different. It's sort of like a mixture. I don't know if you guys have sort of heard accents over there, or it's a sort of a mix between a Brummy Birmingham accent and your classic northern accent. It's a strange voice.
Okay. So yeah, see, I always wonder about that because I always wonder what people are going to sound like when we get them on the phone, what, and for the most part, everybody, it sounds fine. Like everybody sounds fine. It doesn't, no big deal.
Yeah.
But all right, man. Well, I appreciate your time so much, and we'll definitely talk again.
Definitely. Yeah.
All right.
Been a good little podcast. That.
Thank you. And that brings us to the end of another episode of the Southampton Delivery Podcast, a podcast dedicated to the Southampton Football Club and all of the SFC fans. I'd like to thank you all for joining us. I hope that you enjoyed the show. And I'd like to thank Dan for coming on the show. I really appreciate his time and his energy and his efforts and his willingness to come on and talk. If you want to find more from him, you can do so by following him on Twitter at @TheDanJames or subscribing to the Ugly Inside YouTube channel and seeing him on the fan cams. And there's plenty of other stuff that you will enjoy there as well. You can also follow the Ugly Inside on Twitter. The links to those are in the show notes. In addition to that, be sure to visit the Saints Foundation website and follow them on Twitter to see how you can get involved and help support their efforts to change the lives of people of all ages across Southampton and the surrounding areas. Dan works for the foundation. It's a great organization associated with the Southampton Football Club, but of course their finances are separate, as Dan said. So any support that you can give them in any way is much appreciated. And I really do respect all of the work that they do, and I hope to bring you more on them in the future. While you're on social media, you can also follow this show at SFCDELL_IVERY on Twitter and on Facebook at facebook.com/SFC Delivery. There's no underscore in the Facebook address. If you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to the feed in iTunes or wherever else you get your podcast to be sure that you don't miss an episode. If you do that, you'll get next week's episode with Chris Hughes downloaded directly to your device without you having to do anything. And voila, more Southampton chat just for you. If you are enjoying the show, please consider leaving a review on iTunes. That really is the best way to help promote the show. It helps spread the word to other people when they get on iTunes and start seeing other things. If you don't use iTunes, maybe, or you don't want to leave a review, share the episode with somebody, download it for them, make them listen, retweet the stuff, whatever it is. Any help that you can give the show to help spread the show really, really is appreciated. So, I think that pretty much does it for this episode. I'd like to thank you all for listening once again. Thank you for all the support. And, remember that until next time, together, we march on.